The Detroit Lions have been in the news this past couple days. They hired a new head coach, MCDC. That's Motor City, Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell, everybody, he is, look, the energy he brings is ecstatic. Wow. He is,
That muscle
it,
milk energy.
muscle milk energy. Yeah. if you, He's going to create some type of culture there. That's for sure. And we'll talk about that. But also, the team and Matt Stafford have mutually agreed to part ways, ending his 12 years there. I
Yeah.
think we're at. Yeah. So a lot of change there. I want to talk about Stafford first because I think this has been known for a while that the team was going to do this. Stafford probably knew as well, and they whether it's 100% mutual or one is on the losing end, who knows? I think it's good for both parties here to move on. Uh, but this had to be known before the coach hire. So I really like Stafford, and I think he has totally been overlooked because he's been in Detroit. Watching a couple videos and reading some of the comments on Twitter when they announced that they were going to part ways in Detroit there, no one really says Stafford's a bad quarterback. The conversation is focused on that team and how the team just wasn't as good and Stafford kind of was there. What do you think of I don't know where he can go now. I heard Indy is a good spot, but there's so many quarterbacks that are potentially moving this offseason. It's going to be crazy.
That's the hardest part. Right? I mean, but there's also so many teams that need a quarterback, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he could go to Indy, he could go to Denver, he could go to San Francisco. I mean, he could go to New England. I mean, there's so many teams
Yeah.
and so many playoff caliber teams, right?
Yeah.
Houston's probably moving off Deshaun Watson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Chicago needs a quarterback. I mean, there's just so much here to play around with.
Definitely. And he's an upgrade for a lot of quarterbacks, and I saw this video last night of him. It was during the Thanksgiving game where I think he dislocated his shoulder and he still went out and was slinging the ball to win that game in the last second. It's like, oh, I forgot about that Stafford because
Yeah.
Detroit has overshadowed him in a way. They kind of buried him and he's still playing well. I don't think he's at all the issue in Detroit. But again, I haven't
Yeah.
watched a lot of Detroit games. But yeah, that's going to be one situation that's going to be super interesting to see, especially now that they have a new head coach in Dan Campbell, who is a burst of energy.
Yeah, and we'll talk about him more in a second. But I feel like Matt Stafford is a guy traditionally that I feel like has been hard to kind of judge because of the fact that he's played for the Lions, right?
Yeah.
His former backup on ESPN now, Dan Orlovsky, went on and on about how, look, Matt Stafford is so much better than anybody even realizes. If he was able to go to a Kyle Shanahan offense, for instance, in San Francisco, he'd be able to, compete for an MVP. I'm not sure if I'm that high on him, but I think one thing to keep in mind, if you look at what the Lions historically were in the 30 years before Matt Stafford got there, they were a horrible team. My entire childhood, they were going 1-15 with Joey Harrington, right? I mean, they were a laughing stock, and Matt Stafford made them competitive. Yeah, I mean, not the Tom Brady-esque career of 10 Super Bowls, right? But the fact that he got this Lions franchise, which is poorly run, poorly executed, extremely cheap. There's a reason they hire a lot of the coaches that they do, including Matt Patricia, right? The fact that Matt Stafford was still able to drag that franchise almost single-handedly into the playoffs 3 times, I think is an achievement all on its own, right? I think he has a ton of talent still, clearly has still that cannon for an arm. A lot of people have talked about him over the course of the years. I forgot what his name is on Fox. I can't stand him, but he's called him for the past 12 years. Stat Padford, just a guy that's going to throw for 5,000 yards and 35 touchdowns, but isn't ultimately going to win you the games. They actually had a couple of games this year. I mean, the one I'm specifically thinking about is the Atlanta Todd Gurley game. I mean, they went down with not that much time left and won won
Yeah.
that game. I think Matt Stafford
Yeah,
can still be really competitive in this league if you're able to surround him with a good offensive line. He's never really had a great running game. He's had
no.
good receivers. That's something you can definitely say between Calvin Johnson and Golden Tate and TJ
Yeah.
Hawkinson. Now he's had some targets, but overall they did not do enough. But Matt Stafford's one of these guys, just like Phillip Rivers, just like Matt Ryan, where to me, I think they're really going to be on the cusp of that Hall of Fame discussion. I'm not sure if he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, but Matt Stafford was definitely, I think, one of the most underrated, one of the very good quarterbacks of this era.
Yeah, he's been in a situation where I think he's better than Carr, but it's similar to Carr, where it's like, this team is not, you're not the issue here. It's the coaching, it's the culture, it's the organization that hires the wrong people, signs the wrong free agents,
even drafting a guy like Jeff Okudah, who was the worst ranked quarterback in the entire NFL, and you drafted with like the third overall pick, right? Or fifth overall pick.
It's those types of decisions that really showcase like organization isn't that good. They don't have the best scouting or whatever, whatever leads to those decisions and such. But Stafford is never the issue there. So it's unfortunate in year 12 he's getting an opportunity to go somewhere else and potentially find success, because he's on the tail end of his career here. But hopefully he can do something. Hopefully he could find some and at least get into the playoffs, just get him into the playoffs, let him shine a little bit. Cause I don't know, he's such a good player. I have nothing bad to say about the guy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, great competitor. Like you mentioned, that longest unedited clip in, NFL Films history for that, two straight minutes of you see him getting his shoulder dislocated, walking over to the sideline, running back onto the field and scoring a touchdown, right? Like it's so hard not to root for this guy. And so I do think what is kind of crazy about this, coaching carousel that I think we're about to enter into is that a lot of these quarterbacks are still under contract, right? Like Stafford's still under contract. He's going to have to be traded. Garoppolo under contract. Watson under contract. So I love this new NFL. And I can't wait to see this offseason. I think it's going to be so friggin' entertaining.
It's potentially like some kid got a hold of the Madden copy and is just making trades left and right. And it's like, this would be fun. I want Watson on Niners because that's fun. Just having fun with it. So hopefully we get that level of activity, because, I think the NFL does need a shakeup, a big shakeup like this. But, end of an era in Detroit, Stafford out, and Dan Campbell, MCDC over there, is now the head coach of the Detroit Lions. Cool hire. He used to be a player for them, right? A linebacker? Is that the right position? Or was he just a player in general? Am I remembering?
I know that he was a player in general. I have no idea whether he was a
okay. I think he was. Yeah. I think he was. Yes, I'm pretty sure he was, because I saw a video of him walking around the site, the facility, their training facility, and he's like, I remember this place. I'm pretty sure he's on the team. If not, oh well. I don't care if I'm wrong. But this guy came out swinging, and I know you have the transcript, and I want you to talk about some of those highlights of his first press conference as head coach of the NFL. Because when this was announced, people were like, "All right, cool hire," and then he came out swinging in that first press conference.
Yeah, well, and to be fair too, I mean, this is a guy who this is his first press conference as a head coach. Clearly has not spent a ton of time in front of the mic before. I mean, he did have, those comments into the mic when he was a college player that we don't need to get into right now. But he was clearly amped up, wanted to get a message across to his teammates, or to his team rather. I think this was not designed for the press, although I think the press absolutely ate it up as they should. But I think he was trying to really instill a culture, and I don't think you can do that from the microphone, right?
Yeah.
What is so weird to me about this is that normally I either have really strong opinions about something or I just don't care. This is something where like I really care. I was fascinated by this entire press conference. I've watched it a couple times now. Just the main, initial rant that he goes on here, but I don't know whether I love it or I hate it, because there's a part of me as we go through it here that makes me think like, yeah, like you get him, Dan Campbell. And then there's a part of me that says this is the most overhyped, oversold thing ever. And you're a jackass, but when he goes on and on about, and when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off. All right. And we're going to stand up. And if it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. All right. And on the way up, we're going to take another kneecap. And then we're going to get up. And then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. First of all, just the logistical, sense of that sentence doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Even that being said, the more I've sat with it, the less I have liked it. I think it was a big energy move. I think, especially in a city like Detroit, trying to take on the identity of that city, I was totally on board with that. And then once it got into the biting off the kneecaps, I'm not sure if he was really trying to identify with the lion imagery or what, but he somewhere between talking about taking on the identity of Detroit and we're going to bite your second kneecap off, started to lose me.
Yeah. I looked it up. He was a tight end for a couple different teams, and he had from 06 to 08, he was with Detroit. So he played there. But yeah, it seemed like a guy who is just excited to be there. And not like he doesn't deserve it or anything, like he's not going to be a good coach, but he just like, wow, I'm a coach, like let's do it. Like I'm excited. I think it sounds like he liked his time there in Detroit.
Part of me thinks that this is what he said in the interview. And so he just said it again,
yeah, he just came really like, this is what I want. This is my philosophy. We're biting kneecaps.
Kneecaps are tasty.
Yeah. It got people talking. We know what type of energy he's going to bring. There's no question to it. Whether that, and I think when we talked about this yesterday, you said this point, like it's a young team. Maybe they latch onto that, that's a leader, right? Like that alpha dog mentality kind of that he is having, like he is going to be the vocal one in this locker room on a team that kind of doesn't have that voice anymore, especially now that Stafford is gone. I couldn't tell you who could be the leader in that locker room. So, hey, you're going to set a culture. You have a strong energy in that coach now. So it's going to be exciting to see what they do. I don't think they're going to be great right away. But this is one of those coaching hires that I am super interested in, just based on that press conference too. Like I couldn't tell you outside of playing tight end for a couple of years in the NFL what he's done coaching, but hey, I'm excited to see what he brings,
Yeah, I think it would be super entertaining for him to be great. I do think it's interesting that you went from a guy like Matt Patricia, who was probably the most informal coach in the NFL, and I think that also showed up each and every Sunday as well, to another guy that I'm not saying is necessarily lazy or informal in the same way, but it's not. It's a player friendly mentality, and it's we're not going to care about the look of something, which you can say is fine. I mean, that's what Bill Belichick did, but Bill Belichick was buttoned up in every aspect of coaching that team, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to be lazy about your appearance. Don't be lazy about what goes into your preparation for Sunday.
Definitely. So I just wanted to look up what he's been coaching. He coached as an intern for the Dolphins the year after he retired. Tight end coach for 4 years in Miami. Then he was an interim head coach in 2015, and he has a 5-7 record as a head coach there. Then he went to the Saints as the assistant head coach and tight ends coach, and now he's Detroit. So, under Sean Payton for 4 seasons, something there. And I don't know.
Sean Payton just lost his quarterback coach, Joe Lombardi, who just became the offensive coordinator for the Chargers.
Wow, reckoning is here for New Orleans. The cap, their coaching staff,
it's
like
all
Breeze is probably done. Like if
Well,
Breeze
and
comes
this is
back, what are you
exactly
doing?
what happened after Sean McVay went to the Super Bowl too, when everybody was hiring, anybody that has ever had a handshake of Sean McVay
Yeah.
was getting a job. And I think this is, one of the things that you're seeing with Sean Payton. Maybe Dan Campbell is a, historically great tight end coach. Maybe he was under the tutelage of Sean Payton, right?
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Definitely. Yeah, like I said, Detroit, I am super interested in this team now, and I did not think I would be interested in them soon.